Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown, and this is part two of our very first segment of our podcast that helps and supports professionals who are serving family caregivers. And our podcast is called the Caring Professional Reset. We're going to gather twice a month, 25 minutes each time. The first time we gather during the month, we're going to look at some education. And then the second part, we're going to look at how does it actually apply in practice. And that's called Practice Lab. And today is one of our practice labs. And we're looking at the 6 caregiving stages. In our first segment, we walked through the 6 caregiving stages and how we could support family caregivers in each of those stages. The 6 caregiving stages is a concept I developed initially in 1997. I've adapted and tweaked and revised the concept over the years to ensure that it stays relevant. Actually, one of our attendees, Marilyn, is one of our presenters of the 6 caregiving stages, and she delivers that concept in her community. So you can take a course through me where you can become a guide or an educator to present the concept. It's a way to educate and connect with family caregivers. So now we're thinking about how does this come to life? And at the end of our first segment, I had asked you to figure out where you are in the 6 caregiving stages. And there's actually a self-assessment tool that you can complete that puts you in a stage. The reason that I ask you to do that is because we're all in a caregiving stage. And you might think, but Denise, I'm not caring for anyone right now. That puts you in the expectant stage. We're all expectant caregivers. I've cared for my grandmother, my aunt, and my parents. And I'm still an expectant caregiver because we never know who, when, why we might be in another caregiving situation. The other reason that we think about what stage we're in is that it helps us better identify with family caregivers. When we self-identify as a family caregiver, then we understand on a deeper level the caregiving experience. A couple years ago, I was consulting with an organization that provides educational material for family caregivers. And so I was helping them by reviewing their content. And they had me review a piece of content that helped family caregivers organize their day. And when I read the article that they had written about organizing your day, it made me want to scream, to be honest with you, because it just looked at a family caregiver in one dimension. It never considered that perhaps the family caregiver might still be working, might have other family commitments, might have other commitments, like just even going to the grocery store. The way they had the day structured, you could not leave the house. And my feedback to them was just that. You have to keep in mind that these are fully dimensional people. They don't just do one thing in their life. It's not just caregiving. They have other responsibilities, other interests. And I found it so interesting that an organization that is selling a service to support family caregivers couldn't see family caregivers as fully dimensional. They wanted to stick them in a silo. So much so that the suggestion to family caregivers was structure your entire day around caregiving. No time for a break, no time for a career, no time for other relationships, no time for other kinds of self-care activities, no time to manage the house, manage what is entailed in house maintenance. It really made me crazy. It was hard to keep consulting with them, so I don't consult with them anymore because I was so frustrated that they only saw family caregivers as one dimension. Today happens to be the day we're doing our Caregiving Listener Project. And this morning I connected volunteer listening artists with storytellers. And our storytellers are current or former family caregivers who want to share a story about a relationship or a situation or a worry. Our first listener and storyteller happened to be a former family caregiver and my intern at University of Illinois, who also is a former family caregiver. So he's a young man who's 22 years of age, and he spent 6 years caring for his grandmother from the time he was 10 to about 16. It was what he did. And he talks about how he wanted to be with his friends, and instead he was with his grandmother. However, what was interesting is after they came out of their private Zoom room, they tell me about what the experience was like. And the listener said to me, it's just so helpful to remember that a family caregiver is fully dimensional. It's what she said. I thought that was so interesting because it was what I was going to talk to you about. And I said, of course, we have other things going on in our life. And it also reminds us that we can't know who a family caregiver is. So my intern was a high school and middle school student in a caregiving situation. And people would have looked at him, and he's also obviously a young man. People would have looked at him and said, what does he need to know about family caregiving? What kind of support could he possibly need as a family caregiver? And honestly, he needed a lot of support. It's one of the reasons that he's going to be a doctor. His experience caring for his grandmother was so profound that it actually created his career path. And something that's very important to him is to show up and support others because he felt that lack of support. Family caregivers are fully dimensional. And when we identify as a family caregiver, we understand that because we understand all the dimensions of our life. We don't just see ourselves as one person, we see ourselves as a whole person. And then it helps us understand that family caregivers are a whole person, that they're not just caring for a family member. They are caring for a family member and doing their best to live a full life. And we are live when we do our podcast. So if you are with me live, feel free to share an intro in the chat room and feel free to share insights, questions, observations that you think of as we go through today's program. So when we put ourselves in a stage of caregiving, again, it could be just the expectant stage. It reminds us that everyone around us is probably an expectant caregiver as well, regardless of where they are in a current caregiving situation or where they have been as former family caregivers. We best support family caregivers when we actually insert ourselves as family caregivers as well. It's not them, it's not us, it's all of us. One of the other things that I think is so important when we put ourselves in the stage is then we put into practice what the experience is like. And when we put it into practice, it becomes more meaningful. If we are simply reading about how to support family caregivers, it feels too, I think, esoteric. If we put it into practice because we are a family caregiver, then it helps us actually develop something that is relatable, relevant, practical, logical, and even sometimes affordable because we understand what that looks like, all those categories, what it looks like showing up in our life. So putting this into practice means we start with ourselves and then think about how it could look with others. And I think it's important for us to remember that family caregivers aren't a them, it's an us. We're all family caregivers. Mary, I could see you shaking your head yes, so it sounds like I'm resonating. If you want to go off mute and share why this is resonating, great. Or if you want to post in the chat room, either one is good for me. Oh, you're fired
No,
up.
hi. No, it really resonates because for my job, I'm helping clients navigate their healthcare journey, and it is often supporting caregivers, not only just the people they're helping, but also them. And myself am a caregiver for, I have been for, aunts. My own mother is in a dementia journey. My in-laws have dementia CHF. So aside from, raising children and caregiving in that aspect. So yeah, I mean, I think I come out my job differently as a caregiver and see them, like you said, it's in us. It's not just them and what they do. So that really
Yes.
resonates.
Yes, it's so helpful to remember because I think for decades I fought this idea that family caregivers don't self-identify, which just made me crazy. Because we can call ourselves whatever it is that we want in a caregiving role. It shouldn't be that it's imposed upon us to call ourselves a family caregiver. Sometimes that's not a term that resonates with us. And we still want to connect with support. And when others realize that it's an emotional experience and we provide emotional support, we reach family caregivers. What's also, yeah, go ahead, Mary, go ahead.
Nope, I was just going to say absolutely.
What also is interesting is I think you're also bringing into this idea that when we support ourselves at work, it allows us to think about how we can support family caregivers who might be our clients. Oftentimes, we think about supporting family caregivers outside of our workplace when family caregivers are also part of our workplace. And if we think about what could help internally, then it helps us provide support externally. In truth, an organization who understands they have family caregivers as employees and then thinks about support and services that could help them also understands their clients and customer base might be family caregivers as well, and to think about how to best serve that client base of family caregivers. Years ago, and honestly, I think this would have been, so we're in 2025. I think this would have been in 2000. So that's 25 years ago. Wow. Okay. I, if my memory serves me right, about 25 years ago, I went to the headquarters of a large retailer and they were looking at how do they create a special aisle in their store for family caregivers. They were looking at products, but they were also looking at display. What does it look like when you create an aisle for family caregivers with caregiving products? It was fascinating. They actually worked a lot with an incontinence provider, so incontinence products manufacturer. And so that manufacturer had said, what can we do to better display our products within your store? And so the retailer took a step back and said, well, what can we do so that actually serves any customer who comes in our store who could be a family caregiver and is looking for products and services? Now, we didn't get farther than the conversation. I was hopeful we would get farther, but we just got the conversation. And I think about that 25 years ago. What what would it be like if there actually was a retailer that didn't just look at stocking shelves with products that happened to be for family caregivers, but instead created an atmosphere for family caregivers to shop? When I go into Walgreens, and Walgreens wasn't the retailer that I was working with. When I go into Walgreens and I go into the aisle, and I'm sure you've all been down that aisle where they have a transport chair, they have some other kinds of equipments and supplies. I look at that aisle and I think that is so unattractive because it's just like thrown. It feels like someone just dropped it. Like it doesn't feel like a carefully curated aisle. And I also think about what it can be like to shop in that store. The aisles are tight. So if I were to bring my mom, and my video will stop every once in a while, but my audio, oh, there we go. If I were to have brought my mom to that store when I was caring for her, it would have been difficult if she were in the transport chair just to get down the aisles. Now, my mom loved to go to Walgreens. She loved to pick out nail polish. She loved to look at little treats. She loved to get candy. Oh, now my dad loved to go to Walgreens too, but he loved to go to get his gin. So they had very different shopping priorities. And then I would go get the gin for my dad. But I think about how the stores are really set up to move as much product as possible without really thinking about the environment. And I get that. And I also think it's tough to be in the retail space these days. But think about what could have happened if the aisle for family caregivers was really thoughtfully curated with more than just equipment like a transport chair or a walker. What if it had comfort products for the family caregiver, like essential oils, diffusers. And you guys can start to put in the chat room like what kind of comfort products you'd love to see in that aisle. I think it would be so interesting. What if there were some greeting cards you could pick up, or like stationery that was specific to a family caregiver, that it was like you were writing a note to yourself, and the stationery started off with a beautiful picture, then you opened up the card and the card said, "You're fabulous. Write about your day." Just kind of like a prompt. Or like journals, or like special writing utensils for your journal. Because you know what? I think we all love special pens. Okay, Marilyn, you're going off mute. So
Yeah,
what are
no,
you
I
thinking?
have a question with regard to the where the retailer or whatever. I think it's a great idea. You should market it now.
Oh,
No, really, because I think that what it is, it's that I never saw anything. You said you spoke to the retailer at many years ago, but nothing ever came out of it from any place because I don't think they think like that. They don't think like that. But we need people out there who are out there, although they're struggling as it is now. But still, just the idea, it's fascinating where you go in and, oh, family caregiving, and you go, I think it's a great idea.
and think about loyalty from a client base. If you're a family caregiver and you go into a store and you think, this store gets me, like, look at this aisle. Like, it is products and equipment that I need for caregiving, but it's also products for me to help me with my stress, with my release of my stress, with organizing my day, for instance.
The only what I want to say is that it's really not they're not really going out of their way if they had that because all the products are in the store. It's just that they're all over the place. You have the oils here, you have the chairs there. So it's not as if they have to recreate everything. It's just that they need someone who is able to go in and to put it together and say, why don't we put everything here, which would fall under that? That's how I look at it.
I think it would take
Absolutely.
away the stigma too. Because, we've all been in CVS or Walgreens and we walk in and we see the aisle of the chairs and, incontinence products and things. And it's always like, it looks so stark and medical. So if you don't need to go in that vein, but could you imagine, like you said, you walk in, you see the blankets, the journals with that mixed in,
Right.
it would be a much more, and I think the people who need those products won't feel as stigmatized to get them if it's mixed in a more warmer environment. I agree.
Yes,
That's a good one.
absolutely. Yeah. Excellent point. You guys are bringing out such great points. And the other piece of this is, what if, now this is a big ask, but what if when you went to the store and it was the first time you're buying products to help in a caregiving situation, there is some kind of extra support for you as a freshman caregiver? And then,
Mm.
right?
No, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And then let's say when you're entrenched, you're running in to get wound care supplies. there's some kind of little extra support for you because there's this acknowledgement that, oh, wound care, that's intense. And what if there was a way for the retailer to track the products you bought that then helped them see you in your stage and then gave you some extra rewards, for instance? So if you are going in every week to buy wound care supplies, like your third trip, they give you something extra because they think you're doing something like super, like, wow, wow. And then it's not just a loyalty program for any family caregiver, it's a for any customer, it's a loyalty program for family caregivers. So
Well,
we know that some retailers do have loyalty programs for seniors or senior shopping hours to make it a little easier. You get a special discount when you reach a certain age. Where's our family caregiver discount?
well, I just want to comment on that. It sounds like a great, but I really think in this day and age, I think it's very idealistic for one reason. I go into CVS and you're lucky if you have one person there. Seriously, they're doing so many things. They're checking you out, and now everything is locked up. So you have to ring a bell, and it's this you know, it depends. It could be one or two, but it's the same person and you have to wait. So I don't really think in right now, with the way the climate is, that it's realistic, but they can hire someone to go with them and to help them to do the things that you say, or
Well,
a family caregiver or whatever to help them through that. But I don't think it's very realistic for the retailer, that's
I
my
think
experience.
I think you can do it in such a way that it's technology that does the heavy lift on it.
In what way?
So for instance, if there is a rewards program for family caregivers,
Yeah.
you just have to enroll. And then through that rewards program, they are tracking your purchases. And then,
Okay.
for instance, let's say you spend $100,
Okay.
they give you back 5 or whatever it is. So
Well,
like
that's more
yeah,
realistic. Yeah.
right. So what a great way to start. And again, what a great way to get family caregivers to consistently come to your store. It's the same thing that pharmacies, what they do, right? It's competitive between the different pharmacies. So they're always trying to get you in. And we know that as family caregivers, we are in line at the pharmacy all the time. So what if the rewards program is for the pharmacy plus the store? And what if it's just an automated gift card that shows up, for instance, at your house once in a while, just for $10 to spend at the store? And I know this is going to get into a little bit more labor because I know I understand your point exactly, Marilyn. It's hard to find help, but what if there was like some little email that you got every once in a while that said, "We see you and what you do. We've got $25 for you to spend. And we've got some suggestions about products that can help with stress management, staying organized, getting a better night's sleep.
Yeah.
Soothing your sore muscles. I just was stretching out again because my muscles are still so sore from caregiving. Oh, if they had sent me that email, I would have started crying. Someone sees me as so stressed out that I have sore muscles. Thank you.
Well, I think I'm being idealistic, but you just popped something into my head. There should be family caregiving stores specifically, like
Yes.
little franchise all over
Yes.
where
Yeah.
people can just go
Yeah.
in and it's just their store and
Yes. Yeah. Wouldn't that be fabulous?
yeah,
Former family caregivers work there. And so when you go to get,
right, yeah,
yeah, so when you think
they
I
have
have
some
to
of
buy
that.
a transport chair, what do? You connect to a
Right,
former family caregiver
exactly.
who works there who says, tell me more about your situation and I can recommend. Yeah.
Just
Mm.
found a new business.
Yes. Yes. Okay, Mary, what are you thinking?
Now I think, well, my brain is spinning too. Can you get the companies who have the products in the stores to do some kind of, if they're short staffed at CVS, can't they send a rep to have at least be there to educate on how to use a transport chair, what are the benefits, or have a sponsor a massage therapist, or sponsor, have like caregiving hours.
Yes.
Start off that way
Yes.
and
I,
block off some time where, you incorporate some of those things, and let the onus for helping to support it be on the products that are being featured in the store.
yeah. Just having family caregiver hours. Could you imagine if you could go into a store from 6 to 7 or 6 to 8 p.m. So you're coming home from work or whatever, and you know the only other shoppers are going to be family caregivers. I mean, wouldn't that be
Imagine the bonding too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
That's what I was
yeah,
thinking. Like
yeah,
you walk in every aisle, you're like, oh my God, you too?
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
wow. What a way to connect with each other. Wouldn't that be awesome?
yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, so interestingly enough, in the Chicagoland area, there was a store
Oh,
specific to supplies and adaptive equipment. And many of the shoppers were family caregivers. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the records of my mind to try to pull out the year this happened. And I believe it was 2005. At the time, I was doing a radio show and I broadcast my radio show from this store. And the radio show was from family caregivers. So we had the store management talk about different products that they had. It was really pretty fun. We had a lot of technical difficulties, but we still were able to broadcast. And it went belly up. It went belly up. It didn't have enough traffic coming into the store. It was a store ahead of its time. It
wow.
also was huge. Like the space of it was huge. It probably would have been a little better if they had started with maybe a little smaller store and then built out from there. But they had the coolest stuff there that a family caregiver would be like, oh, I was duct taping products together to make this. I didn't realize I could actually
Yeah,
buy it. It was awesome. It
yeah,
was awesome.
That's a great idea. You're right. It
Yeah.
probably was ahead of its time.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we are out of time with our practice lab, which was so fun. This was our very first one. So I want to thank our live attendees for being here today. It was so fun to connect with you guys. And I hope you found it enlightening. I'll use
yeah,
that word.
yeah.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. The wheels are turning.
The
I know.
wheels are turning. I just think even if we got store hours for family caregivers, that would be a huge win. And you know what? I think a rewards program for family caregivers too. Like those two things are easy to do, huge wins. And I think it could be amazing, amazing. And maybe that's one of the things that you think about with like a smaller independent store to do.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
it's hard to get through the
The red
bureau.
tape. And I'm
Right.
going to bring this concept
yeah,
back. I'm part of a couple caregiver coalitions in New Jersey.
Oh,
So I'm
great.
going to talk about the concept at our next meeting, and,
Oh, nice.
kind of get the collective hats going you
Yeah.
never know who someone's reach is.
You never know. You never know who someone is married to. You never know who
Exactly.
someone brother-in-law is, right?
Yep, exactly.
It's all about
So I think the more
connections.
we keep it in conversation, you never know.
You never know. You never
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Okay, this was the best thing I did today. And I'm doing something fabulous with our caregiving listener project. So that just really speaks to how fun it was to connect with you guys today.
yeah,
So you can join
Thank
practice.
you.
Yeah, you can join Practice Lab on the second Friday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And then you can join our first part for educational material on the first Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register through our page on Eventbrite or our communitycaringourway.com. Okay. Thanks, you
Thanks,
guys.
thank
Denise.
Yeah,
Bye,
thanks,
you.
you
Have a good
guys.
Sharon.
Yeah,
weekend.
Take
yeah.
care.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.